Hey guys, this is Dustin Neely for Church Planning for the Rest of Us, and I wanted to take just a moment today to answer a question that I often get asked by young church planners. And the question is, should you be bivocational when you start your church? Here's my answer. I think it depends. And for some of you, it's not going to be an option. I mean, you raise your money, but at the end of the day, you got to provide for your family, and if the money is not enough, then it is a viable and wise and biblical option to go out and to get another job. And we got to understand here that in Paul's ministry, there were times when he was focused full-time on the work of ministry and other times when he was making tents. In fact, there's plenty of evidence of him discipling Timothy and others in this way, probably when he sat around in his shop making these tents, talking to them about the gospel. So any kind of idea that it's a second-class minister that is being bivocational is completely eradicated by Paul's example and others throughout the New Testament. So once you settle that issue in your mind, then you got to ask the question, okay, is this the wisest choice for me? And for some of you in your context, it honestly is. For example, one of the guys that I'm getting ready to send out, targeting very skeptical people to the gospel. And so part of his strategy is to go in among them, get a job, and we'll talk about what kind of job in tomorrow's post, but to get a job among them so that there's no threat of, oh, you're just doing this for the paycheck and you're just in this for the money and you don't really care about people and so on and so forth. So he is naturally addressing one of their hang-ups, if you will, by taking a job that isn't just vocational ministry. So there's some obvious benefits to doing so, but there's also some concerns to doing so as well. Now again, you've got to sort this out in your own context, but there is something very wise and good about being able to dig in one spot and truly focus on the work. So how do you get to that place where you could be quote-unquote full-time from the beginning? Well, we'll do some posts on this in the future, but really, if you're starting from scratch, it does come down to fundraising. You've got to raise enough money for you and your family to fulfill that biblical responsibility to provide for them, but then also to cover the additional expenses of the church in those early stages while you're gathering a core team that can then help give and help pull the weight. So really the answer comes down most times is, how hard is a guy willing to work, and does he have the social network that God has provided in His providence to be able to fund this work so that he would be full-time? So let's recap here. Is it a biblical issue? Yes, it is, in the sense of both models are clearly allowed in the Scripture, full-time and bivocational. Which one is the right one for you? A lot of that's going to depend upon the context, and there are things to consider either way. And then finally, a lot of the answer of whether or not full-time will work for you, or if the bivocational route is the route to go, really does come down to fundraising. Now tomorrow, we'll post about how you need to think about which job you choose if you choose to go the bivocational route, because for church planners, I think the effectiveness of all jobs is not created equal. So we'll talk about that tomorrow.